Ladies and gentlemen, this is Earl Nightingale. We live in a world where men and women dream of greatness. They dream of a better life, a stronger future, a sense of purpose. But only a few ever reach the destination they set out for. Why? It is not because they lacked intelligence. It is not because they were born into the wrong family or the wrong city or the wrong time. No, my friend. It is because they did not master the one force that separates the ordinary from the exceptional: consistency. Consistency is quiet. It does not shout, it does not beg for applause, and it does not need motivation. Consistency is a habit, forged in the silence of early mornings and the stillness of late nights. Most people wait for motivation, but the man who succeeds does not wait. He acts, he moves, he wakes up each day and does the thing that must be done, whether he feels like it or not. Force yourself to be consistent. This is not about willpower, nor is it about stubbornness. It is about becoming the kind of person who does not break promises to himself. Because the man who keeps his own word to himself becomes unstoppable. You see, the mind is a garden. What you plant, you will harvest. And what you tend to every single day becomes your life. So what are you planting? And are you watering it with consistency? The great tragedy is not failure. The great tragedy is never giving yourself the chance to find out what would have happened if only you had stayed the course. We live in an age of distraction. Everything pulls for your attention. But those who win, those who build lives of greatness, are those who learn to ignore the noise and focus on the mission. Let me tell you something that most never hear. Consistency is not exciting. It's not thrilling. It doesn't give you fireworks. But what it does give you is results. And results are what shape destiny. The greatest athletes, thinkers, builders, and leaders, they were not always the most gifted. They were the most consistent. They showed up every day. They practiced when no one watched. They improved when no one cared. And in the end, they were the ones still standing. So ask yourself right now, can I become the man or the woman who keeps showing up? Can I force myself to be consistent, even when I feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain? Because the truth is, your life will be measured not by what you do once, but by what you do every day. Force yourself to be consistent. And I promise you there is no mountain too high, no dream too big, and no future out of reach. Now let us talk about the greatest illusion that holds people back. The illusion of the right time. So many wait. They wait for inspiration. They wait for motivation. They wait for conditions to be perfect, for the stars to align, for a signal from somewhere out there in the world to say, now is the time. But let me tell you something eternal and true. There is no right time. There is only this time. If you cannot be consistent now when things are difficult, you will not be consistent later when things are better. Because consistency is not something you do when it's easy. It's who you are when it's hard. We live in an era of speed. People want quick fixes, fast answers, immediate success. But the real treasures of life, the ones that last, they are not earned through bursts of effort. They are carved into reality by persistence and time. Each day you are writing your story. Each repetition, each decision, each quiet moment where you do what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. That is when character is being formed. That is when the man you wish to become is being forged in the fire of discipline. Think about the ocean for a moment. The waves crash upon the rocks day after day, not with rage or chaos, but with calm, deliberate force. Over time, they shape the stone. So it is with the human mind. So it is with success. Repetition is the mother of mastery, and consistency is the father of greatness. Now some will say, but Earl, I fall off. I start, then I stop. And to that I say, of course you do. You're human. But let me remind you, starting again is not weakness. Staying down is. Every single person you admire, every story of greatness you've ever read, includes failure, setbacks, and moments of deep doubt. The only difference is they kept going. So you must ask yourself now, what is one thing I can do today, no matter how small, that moves me forward? And will I do it again tomorrow? And again the next day? Because over time, those small acts compound. Like drops of water in a barrel. They gather, they grow, and suddenly you have momentum. And when momentum is on your side, success becomes not a question of if, but when. Force yourself to be consistent. Not because it's easy, but because your future self is depending on you, and every single action today is casting a vote for the man or woman you are becoming. The most powerful commitment you can ever make is not to another person or even to a goal. It is to yourself, to keep your own word, to show up even when it's raining, to keep going even when the applause is silent, to trust that the small steps you take today will one day lead to the giant leap you dream of. There is a truth that few understand until it's too late. Discipline buys you freedom. You may think that forcing yourself to be consistent is a form of restriction, that you're giving up spontaneity, ease, or comfort. But in reality, it is the opposite. Discipline and the consistency that flows from it opens the doors that remain shut to the undisciplined. Most people drift through life. They live by emotion. If they feel like working, they work. If they feel like learning, they learn. If they feel like pushing through, they push. But feelings are fleeting. They are weather-changing, unpredictable, unreliable. The man who lives by feeling is a leaf in the wind. He may look alive, but he is not in control. The consistent man, however, he builds his life not on weather, but on principle. He understands that emotions are servants, not masters, and because of this, he commands respect from others and from himself. Each day you follow through with discipline, each time you choose action over excuse, you strengthen the muscle of consistency. And as that muscle grows, so does your confidence. Confidence, you see, is not born from praise. It is not given to you by applause. It is earned by evidence. The more you see yourself doing the work, the more you begin to believe, yes, I am the kind of person who follows through. That belief, my friend, is unshakable. It cannot be bought. It cannot be borrowed. It must be built. Now you may wonder, but what if I miss a day? What if I slip? Then you get up. You return. You refuse to stay down. The greatest power of consistency is not perfection. It is resilience. It is the ability to fall and rise again over and over until you have mastered the very habit that once defeated you. Imagine a stone cutter striking a slab of granite. Blow after blow, nothing happens. But on the 100th strike, the stone splits in two. Was it the last strike that broke the stone? No. It was all the ones before it. So it is with life. Your work, your repetition, your practice, it may seem invisible for a time. But consistency is not a waste. It is never in vain. It is the laying of a foundation beneath your feet, silent and strong. When the moment comes, and it will, when the opportunity arrives, you will be ready. Because you stayed the course. Because you showed up. Because you refused to quit. So I say again, force yourself to be consistent. Do the work in the dark, so you may shine in the light. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, and systems are built one consistent action at a time. There's a quiet dignity in consistency. It doesn't beg for praise. It doesn't need a stage. It simply performs again and again. Let's speak plainly for a moment. The reason most people never achieve their goals is simple. They do not stay with anything long enough for it to bear fruit. They start a new routine, then stop. They commit to learning something, then quit when it gets dull. They chase dreams with excitement and then run when the results are slow. But life, my friend, is a test of endurance. It rewards not the one who rushes, but the one who refuses to stop. Imagine planting a tree. You water it. You wait. For days, for weeks, nothing. No sign of progress. But underground, where the eye cannot see, the roots are growing strong. And one day, the first green sprout breaks the soil. Now imagine had you stopped watering it. Imagine you'd said, it's not working. You would have missed the miracle. So it is with every meaningful pursuit. The first signs of growth are always invisible. They take place in the mind, in the spirit, in your character. Consistency is the quiet root system of greatness. Do not be discouraged by the silence. Do not be swayed by the delay. Progress is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers, and only those who listen closely can hear it. Now here's a secret that only those who've walked the long road will tell you. There is power in boredom. Yes, boredom. That moment when the work feels dull, when nothing feels new, when excitement has faded and you're left alone with repetition. Most people run from boredom, but the masters, they embrace it because they understand something critical. Repetition is the birthplace of brilliance. The pianist who practices scales 1,000 times, the athlete who runs the same drill every morning, the writer who rewrites the same sentence until it sings. These are not acts of drudgery, they are acts of devotion. They are the rituals of those who seek excellence. And excellence, my friend, is not an accident. It is a consequence. It is the harvest of repeated effort, guided by purpose and rooted in discipline. When you force yourself to be consistent, you are not just building habits. You are building identity. You become the person who doesn't quit. You become the person who keeps showing up. You become the person who, when others stop, goes one step further. And in a world full of quitters, that makes you unstoppable. Let us speak now of something deeper: identity. You see, true consistency begins not with action, but with belief. You cannot sustain a habit unless it is in alignment with who you believe you are. The man who believes I am lazy will always find ways to quit. The woman who says I never follow through will always find evidence to prove herself right. But the moment you shift your identity, the moment you begin to say, I am a disciplined person, I am the kind of person who does hard things, I am consistent regardless of how I feel, everything begins to change. Consistency is not just an action. It is an expression of identity. We always act in alignment with who we believe ourselves to be. That's why change feels so hard, because it's not just a battle of habits. It's a battle of belief. So if you want to become more consistent, start with the words you speak to yourself. If you say, I'm trying to get in shape, then inconsistency is baked into the statement. But if you say, I am healthy, I take care of my body, then every healthy action reinforces that truth. You must claim the identity before you see the results, because the results follow the identity, not the other way around. Now some may ask, but what if I don't believe it yet? Then act as if it were true. Not with delusion, but with direction. Because your actions are votes. Votes for the person you want to become. Each day you stay consistent. You cast a vote for a stronger you. And over time, those votes add up, until the scale tips. And you no longer have to force consistency because it has become who you are. Let's take a moment to reflect. Who are you becoming through your daily actions? Not who you want to be. Not who you say you are. But who you prove yourself to be by what you do when no one is watching. Character is not formed in grand gestures. It's formed in small decisions, repeated faithfully over time. There is no magic pill. There is no shortcut. But there is a path. And that path is paved with one consistent action after another. When you choose discipline over comfort, when you keep a promise to yourself, when you wake up and do what needs to be done again and again and again, you are not just getting better. You are becoming great. Not because you are lucky, not because you were chosen, but because you chose every single day to be consistent. And that is the true secret. There is a principle that governs every success story ever written. A principle so simple, so universal, and so quietly powerful that most overlook it. It is this: small disciplines practiced daily lead to extraordinary outcomes. You see, greatness is not the result of some heroic leap. It's the result of thousands of quiet, invisible steps, taken when no one is looking, taken when applause is absent, taken when quitting would be easier. When you read about a man who rose to greatness, you are often seeing the outcome, not the process. What you don't see is the early mornings when he rose before the sun. You don't see the countless hours of practice, the days of doubt he wrestled through, the nights when he showed up exhausted, yet still gave his best. You don't see the thousands of times he chose to do the right thing, the necessary thing, instead of the easy thing. You only see the result. But what built that result? Consistency. Let me ask you a simple question. What would happen if for the next 5 years you read for just 30 minutes a day? What if you exercised for just 20 minutes a day? What if you worked on your craft, your skill, your calling for just one focused hour every day? You'd change your life. Not in a burst, but in a progression. Not in a moment, but in a movement. That's the power of consistency. It compounds like interest. It multiplies. It grows slowly, then all at once. But most people never stay long enough to see the bloom. They dig up the seed to check if it's growing. They abandon the process just before the reward. And so they start again, and again, and again, always beginning, but never becoming. But you're different, because you now understand what they do not. The prize is not at the beginning, it is at the end, and only the consistent ever reach the end. So, if you are tired, good. It means you're working. If you feel resistance, good. It means you're growing. If you feel like quitting, good. It means you are on the edge of a breakthrough. The man who is consistent in the small things becomes trustworthy with the big things. He becomes dependable, respected, resilient, and most of all, he becomes free. Because discipline, though it feels like a burden at first, eventually becomes a blessing. When your habits work for you, you no longer have to fight for motivation. You simply act, as naturally as breathing. And that, my friend, is when life begins to bend in your favor. Let us now turn to the greatest battle you will ever fight, the battle within. For you see, the true enemy of consistency is not time. It's not lack of resources. It's not even your environment. The enemy lives inside. It is the voice that says, skip today, it won't matter. Rest a little longer, you deserve it. Start tomorrow, you've got time. That voice is subtle. It wears the mask of comfort. It pretends to protect you from fatigue, from failure, from pain. But in truth, it robs you of the very thing you seek, progress. Now I do not speak against rest. Rest is wise, but let it be earned. Let it follow effort. Let it be part of your rhythm, not an excuse to delay your purpose. Because the voice of inconsistency will always offer a soft pillow when the path gets hard. But remember this, the pillow of comfort often becomes the prison of regret. Discipline begins with awareness, with knowing that the mind left unchecked will always drift toward ease. But when you step in, when you take control, when you speak back to that voice and say, no, I do what I said I'd do, you begin to reclaim your power. The consistent man is not perfect. He's not emotionless. He simply leads himself instead of being led by his feelings. He wakes when it's hard. He studies when others scroll. He trains when the mood is low. He creates when no one applauds. And through that quiet rebellion against the easy life, he builds something very few ever experience, self-respect. That, more than praise, more than profit, more than position, is what consistency earns you. The deep, unshakable knowledge that you can count on you. Imagine living each day with that kind of inner certainty. Imagine facing life knowing that no matter what comes, you will not fold. You will not retreat. You will show up, because you always do. That is the secret of the great men and women of history. Not just talent, not just intelligence, but endurance. They stayed. They persisted. They showed up long after others walked away. Consistency is your armor. It is your compass. It is your strategy for building a life that lasts beyond moments and leaves a legacy. So I say to you, when the voice of comfort comes calling, do not listen. Listen instead to the higher voice, the voice that says, I am becoming something more. And every act of discipline, every single day, is proof. Let us now turn to a truth as old as time. The future belongs to the persistent. In every age, in every industry, in every pursuit, it is not the most brilliant who prevail. It is not the fastest. It is not even the strongest. It is the one who stays when others leave. The one who wakes up and does what needs doing, not once in a while, but daily. There's a principle in nature we would be wise to observe. The seasons do not rush. The tides do not hurry. The sun rises every single morning on time, without fail, without applause. This is the quiet consistency of the natural world. It does not panic. It does not delay. It moves forward every day. And so should you. Success does not visit the erratic. It does not reward the impulsive. It rewards those who build, who show up, who trust the long road. Now you may be tempted to chase variety, to always start something new, to run from boredom and hunt novelty, but be careful. The man who is always starting over rarely finishes anything. Progress does not come from stimulation. It comes from structure, from choosing a path and walking it, even when the ground feels uneven, even when the scenery is dull, even when the thrill has worn off. Every dream, every worthy goal will pass through a desert, a long stretch of time where results seem slow, where recognition is absent, where the work feels heavier than before. And it is in that desert that most turn back. But the consistent man, he keeps walking, step by step, day by day. He does not sprint, he does not boast, he endures. And eventually the road changes, the desert gives way to a garden, and the world calls him lucky. But luck, my friend, is not what brought him there. Consistency did. You must understand, there will be days you do not want to show up. There will be mornings when your mind argues with your mission. You will feel resistance, discomfort, and even doubt. This is not a sign to stop. It is a sign to press on. Because everything you want, the strength, the skill, the freedom, the peace, lives on the other side of consistency. So when the journey feels long, when the reward feels far, when no one seems to notice your effort, remember this: the one who keeps walking wins. Now let us speak of time. You and I, we each have the same 24 hours. No more, no less. The rich man, the poor man, the artist, the laborer, the dreamer, the doer, all are given the same daily allowance. But how we spend those hours, that is where destiny is determined. Most people waste time the way a child might waste coins. They toss it to the wind, believing there will always be more. But the man of consistency, he spends his time deliberately. He understands that each hour is a seed, and what he plants today will become the fruit of his tomorrow. So he rises with purpose. He structures his day with care. He does not let the urgent crowd out the important. He chooses again and again to live by design, not by default. And yes, this requires sacrifice. It means turning off distractions. It means saying no to fleeting pleasures. It means working while others play, building while others sleep. But remember, temporary sacrifice brings permanent reward. You are not just managing minutes. You are shaping your future. Every day you show up to do what you said you'd do, you are becoming more than you were the day before. Not just smarter, not just more skilled, but stronger. Stronger in will, stronger in focus, stronger in identity. And in time, that strength becomes visible to the world. People will wonder how you did it. They will ask for your secret. They will call you gifted, not realizing the gift was not inborn, it was earned. You see, success is always visible in hindsight, but consistency is invisible in real time. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's daily. And that is why so few commit to it. But if you make the decision to master time, to make consistency your creed, you will rise above the average. You will do what most cannot. You will become what most only wish they could. Not through sudden inspiration, but through steady intention. So begin now, with whatever you have, wherever you are. Choose to be consistent, this hour, this day, because a great life is not built in one decision. It is built in 1,000 daily ones. And time rewards those who respect it. Now let's turn to something often forgotten, your environment. We like to think we are entirely self-made, that our will is strong enough to resist any influence. But the truth is, we are always being shaped by the people we spend time with, the voices we listen to, and the spaces we choose to live in. Your environment is either pushing you forward or pulling you back. It is either reinforcing your consistency or slowly eroding it. A man cannot walk a straight path while surrounded by those who wander. You cannot stay on course when everything around you celebrates distraction. So if you want to be consistent, build your world around your values. Read books that feed your mind. Keep company with those who are disciplined. Eliminate the noise, the clutter, the chaos, because you are not just fighting for your focus. You are protecting your future. Consistency is not just about action. It's about alignment. When your goals, your habits, your environment, and your identity all point in the same direction, you become unstoppable. But most people live fragmented lives. They say one thing, but do another. They hope for change, but surround themselves with excuses. You must decide, Are you building a life of power or one of passivity? Because you can't have both. A cluttered life will never produce clear results, and a distracted mind will never sustain discipline. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer contradictions. You need a world that supports the man or woman you're trying to become. Now, this may mean difficult choices. You may need to distance yourself from people who pull you off course. You may need to cut off comforts that weaken your will. You may need to live a season of solitude so you can return stronger than ever. But make no mistake, this is the price of mastery. You cannot rise while remaining surrounded by what pulls you down. So ask yourself now, is my environment helping me or hindering me? And if it's not aligned with my consistency, what can I change today? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to support your progress. Because consistency is not just what you do. It's what you allow. And what you allow into your life shapes everything you become. Let us now talk about a powerful but often misunderstood idea: momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that makes progress feel easier. It is earned, not given. It is built, not found. And it is the reward of consistency. You see, when you first begin anything, a new habit, a new project, a new chapter of your life, everything feels heavy. It takes energy. It takes discipline. It feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill. And most people give up in that stage. They believe it will always feel that way. They believe progress should be quick, easy, and comfortable. But progress never begins with ease. It begins with effort. And if you stay with it long enough, that same boulder that once resisted you will begin to roll on its own. You will begin to feel something extraordinary: momentum. Now the work that once felt hard feels natural. The actions that once required force now happen automatically. The results begin to appear faster. Not because the world changed, but because you did. This is the compound effect of consistency. At first it feels like nothing is happening, but then everything happens at once. And people around you will be surprised. They will call you lucky. They will ask you how you did it. They will wonder what changed. But you will know it wasn't luck. It was daily effort. It was the choice to show up when you didn't feel like it, to keep going when progress was invisible, to push through when others paused, to build while others were busy making excuses. Momentum is a gift, but only for those who stay long enough to receive it. Now let me offer you a word of caution. Momentum can work both ways. Just as small disciplines lead to big gains, small neglects lead to big regrets. If you stop showing up, if you skip one day then another, if you let distraction back into your life, momentum begins to work against you. Inconsistency becomes the new habit. Procrastination becomes easier. And just like that, the hill becomes steep again. So protect your momentum. Guard it fiercely. It is one of the greatest advantages a person can earn. When consistency becomes your standard, momentum becomes your ally. And together they will carry you further than talent ever could. So the next time you feel like skipping the work, the next time you think it's just one day, remember this truth. One day can turn into many. And momentum once lost must be rebuilt. Stay steady. Stay faithful. Stay consistent. Your future depends on it. And now, my friend, we arrive at the end of this long reflection. But endings, like beginnings, carry within them great power if we choose to listen. You have heard now what few are willing to hear. That success is not a lightning strike, but a sunrise. Slow, gradual, predictable, only to those who rise early enough to see it. We've spoken of discipline, spoken of the small, silent choices that shape your destiny, of the days when no one notices, the hours when nothing seems to change, and the voice within that whispers, "Why bother?" But now you know. That voice is a test, and you were meant to pass it. Because you, like all of us, were not born to drift. You were born to direct, to choose, to rise. Greatness, as it turns out, isn't reserved for the few. It's simply the reward for those who keep their word to themselves. Yes, life will try to distract you. Yes, there will be days when you're tired, uncertain, or discouraged. But that's when it matters most. That's when consistency becomes not just a habit, but a declaration. A declaration that says, "I will not be shaken by mood. I will not wait for ideal conditions. I will not build my future on chance, because chance is for gamblers. Consistency is for builders. You are a builder, not of walls or monuments, but of a life measured in purpose and marked by follow-through. The hours you spend in solitude, in study, in honest labor, they will not betray you. They will rise behind you like a mountain, and one day others will see the peak, but only you will remember the climb. And when you arrive, when you look back over the path you walked, you will not say, "I was lucky." You will say, "I earned this." Not with bursts, not with noise, but with quiet, steady strength. So take this truth with you. You do not have to be extreme. You only have to be consistent. One decision, then another still. And over time, those choices will become character. That character will become your life, and that life will speak for itself. This is Earl Nightingale, thanking you for your time, and reminding you one final time, force yourself to be consistent, because everything you dream of is waiting for the man or woman who simply refuses to quit.